That's wise. That's wise advice. And if I mean, that's very wise advice. And if I were to talk about this episode, we said we were going to talk about the man's man segment of your career. But really, what we're talking about is the man's man segment of your life, because
Mm.
it takes a man's man to admit that he's done wrong. It takes a man's man to get
Uh,
out of it. And
doesn't
also,
doesn't really. It just takes now because that's putting. See, when you say that, you make it into something like it's something. No, you just shouldn't be doing it in the first place.
you definitely shouldn't, but so many
It's,
people, you're so hard on yourself because so many
no, it's
people
not.
have
It,
fallen by the wayside and are still
yeah,
in the throes of it. And you
it's
you found the strength somewhere to come out of it. I mean,
uh,
that is something. I know you're not going to sit back and say good job me, because you're still
no,
looking at the mistakes you made, but that is something I think for the listeners out there, especially the ones going through similar things, to have hope that
yeah.
there
There's
is
another
change
thing as
possible.
well. It's like not everybody's got my circumstances. What I mean by that is, it, there's no. It's easy for me to say don't make excuses, but I've got a job and I've got a house and I've got an incredible wife and I'm not living on the streets and I'm not struggling for money and I'm not. So my way of getting out of it was stop making excuses. But there's a lot of things I don't have going against me either. I have a charm life. At the end of the day, I have a very charm life. I've always had a charm life. No matter what I've gone through, I live a charm life because I do the job I like to do, and I get paid for it, and I've done okay out of it, and I've done more than okay. I mean, it's been an exceptionally good life. There's a lot of people out there have got nothing and terrible. So it's easy. It's not easy for them to not make excuses because even if it is an excuse, they've got 1,000 other things to deal with as well. So it was a lot easier for me, right? So my easy way of putting it of stop making excuses isn't easy for everybody or will work for everybody. You've got to find your own way through that. And whether that's with a program or whether that's finding religion, whether that's finding whatever it is you've got to do or support system, I don't know. That was what worked for me, but it's not that easy. It's not that easy for a lot of people because we're not all the same. We're not of every single person is different. There's no one way that you can get yourself out of this. But talking about being a man about it, no, that's just a lot of no. I don't like that at all. That was just me shouldn't have been doing anything in the first place.
Well, that is the, I think, the healthiest mindset for you to have. I think that's the mindset that you need to have pulled out of it. And I think it's something that maybe people out there listening can get inspiration from. And if I'm listening to our director, which is your lizards in the back, I think that's going to bring us to
Yeah,
the,
that's them trying to
yeah,
get out.
to the close of this episode. It's 5 weeks of your life, 5 weeks of your career, crucial for your life, and also kind of fun to look back on as far as the gimmick and the song
No,
and all that. When you look back on those at that time, just as part of your career, is that something you look back fondly on?
I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
But it's just there constantly because somebody will mention it or there'll be if I just walk around an arena and I see a hard hat, I mean it's just there in my life. There used to be a time whenever ever I called Titan Towers for whatever reason and was put on hold because I called the reception and the lady put me on hold before she put me through. That music seemed to be playing constantly, and I was like, "Is this a wind up?" Because it's just one of those things, right? But whatever Jim Johnson needs, that for something that lasted 5 weeks, that has made a complete. I mean, it's stood the test of time, hasn't it? And it's followed me around. So, but I'd be happy if I never had to think about it or see it or hear it ever again.
Well, I'll
Because
tell you what, we'll do you that favor and we'll stop right now. Guys, we hope you're enjoying the Gentleman Villain podcast with William Regal. As you hear, it's a little different. It's definitely deep. It's definitely real. And we hope you go ahead and follow us on Twitter. Make sure to follow William Regal at Real King Regal, or me, Matt Coon, at Matt Coon Music. And we will see you here next week on the Gentleman Villain podcast with William Regal.
Thank you for listening.